Happy New Year! In addition to being the beginning of a new year, this is also the first time I will be using Affinity 3 permanently. No more Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer. By this time, all those videos will have dropped and you'll have seen them. I'm going to take this opportunity to do some text effects. Text effects can be a great way of livening up your creations, and I don't do enough of it, quite honestly. In this video, I'm going to make a Happy New Year design using gold text, keeping with the holiday season vibe. The first thing I need is a black background for this, so I'm going to go over here to the rectangle tool and make sure that we want to make sure that our black is selected. I try to remember to do that first. It seems a lot more simple. Okay, so we have black selected, and then I'm going to draw a black background over this. So this will be our first layer, our background. The text I'm going to use is going to be something called Harlow Solid Italic. And so I need to go over here to the Artistic Text tool, and then I'm going to type in Happy New Year. So I'm going to give it a good guess how big this is going to be. We can always adjust it later. Happy. Oh, I need it to be white. So before we do all that, we need to select the text and select what it is. Happy New Year. And I am going to align that to center. And I am going to go down and search for my Harlow Solid Italic, which is right here. So this is the text I'm going to have. I'm not really sure if this is the font I'm going to end up with, but I think before I used 170 or 180 as far as the font size. So I'm going to go up and type in 180 and press enter, and that's how big my font is going to be. Okay, so now that we have the font set up, and I think I'm going to go over and click on snapping, and then I can center this. Now I think the last time I did this, I didn't have the font in the center because I'm going to be putting in wine glasses also, and that's going to take up some room. Also, I don't like this white piece sticking out, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to turn off snapping because if I'm not using it, it drives me nuts. Okay, now I have a gold background for this, and that's the I'm going to drag in the background, and I'm going to be changing this lettering to a gold. So I'm going to go out and go File and Place, and this that's labeled gold background is what I'm going to use, and I'm going to open that and draw the gold background. And so once I get it set in there, the gold background, before you do anything, make sure that it sits between Happy New Year, the text, and the gold background. And then the black rectangle is going to be there. So this is the order that these things need to be set in. So now I'm going to select the Happy New Year text, and then I'm going to right-click on it and go up to Create Clipping Mask, like that. And that's going to give us our gold background. What this clipping mask does is it cuts out the area of the selection for what we want. And in this case, it was the text, and on the area below it, the gold layer. So I'm going to name this, instead of gold background, I'll name it text, because it really doesn't make any sense for it to be still be named gold background, because it really isn't a background now because we've done a clipping mask on it. Okay, now we don't want our text to look like this because it's flat and dull and boring, and I want to give this a few effects. So I'm going to click on FX, move that out of the way so we can see what we're doing. And I am going to give it a 3D effect. So I'll select 3D, give it a 3D effect. It always defaults to 5 pixels. So right now we have a 5 pixel 3D effect, but that's not good enough for me. I think I'm going to set it up here around 20 or 25 or something like that. 23.9, that's good enough. So, okay, I think I did 25 before, but I don't think it has to be exact. So now we've got a 3D effect with a pixel radius of 25.9, so 25 or 26. Now, we need to go down to this profile box, because the profile box, when we click on it, we can give that text a more cut effect, which is what I'm going for here. Right now it looks rounded 3D. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to these profiles, and you can click on any one you want. So if I click on the first one, it's going to look like that. The second one is going to look like that, and the third one will look like that, and so on. I think I'm going to click on this one for no real reason. I don't want a rounded text look. I mean, whatever you want is fine. You know, there's no right or wrong with this. And I think what I'm going to do is, see these dots right here? You can move these dots around and change the amount of cut you have on the text. So just experiment, and don't be afraid to experiment around until you get something that you like. And let me see, I think this is what I'm going to go with. So that's going to be the profile. I'm getting the hard edge that I really wanted. Okay, so now I'm going to try to get out of this by clicking. I got out of it. And now I'm going to go down to this box. It's called ambient color. This affects the ambient light, which is the light on the text. So I'm going to click on ambient color, and then I'm going to select an orange color, some kind of an orange color, and see what I like. So I'm going to click on that, and notice how it changes. It actually looks a little bit more goldy. Let's see what this one looks like. This one looks like that. I kind of like the orange one better. Okay, so we'll do that. And we can adjust the ambient color however much of a percent that we want. I actually kind of liked it the way it was. Now notice right here we've got this circle that's called direction. And this gives us the direction of our ambient light. Right here we have light source. That means that there's only one light source that's going to be hitting this Happy New Year. So I'm going to adjust this. That looks really terrible. Until I get something I want, just move this little thing around, and it's going to adjust the light source in a different direction. And so once we get what we want, I really don't want this too dark. That is too dark. So I'm going to move that around and move that more around and maybe down like that. So I want to keep it the gold color. So here we have our ambient light coming from this direction where this little dot is. So we could add another light source, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay with, see how down here if we add if I add another light source, you'll see a 2 there. So I'm going to stick with that. Maybe I want to change that a little bit. No, that's too bright. Okay, so I'm going to stick with that, and once I am done, I will just close my box, and that's what I want. try and experiment with anything you want. Experiment with multiple light sources. Once you get to this, I tried doing another light source and it actually looked sort of weird. So I just decided to stick with the first one. Now what I want to do is I want to give the impression that we have gold dust coming off of this lettering. So I have a background of gold dust. I was going to use my paintbrushes, but I tried that and it didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to use an overlay instead. So now that I'm going to use an overlay, we need to make sure that we have this rectangle selected and not the text. Or when I go out and try to pull the overlay in, it's not going to find it. Because if you have the text selected and you go out to File and Place, it's going to look for a text file. And my overlay is not a text file. So I need to select Rectangle. And then I will go out to File and Place. And right here we have the gold dust, which is a JPEG file. So it knows what we're pulling in. So I will open that and then pull that over. It's not really going over it, but I want it behind it actually. And I've tried this a few ways. And I decided, I had one where one was at the top and one was at the bottom and so on. But I've decided I like this one better. So if you're looking for the gold dust, I think it was gold sand. That's what I was looking for. But it's on freepik.com, and that's where I went and got that if you want to try it. Now that we have, let me see if this is really where I want it. Yeah, I think so. I think this is what I want, but I don't think I want it to be that strong. So I'm going to, with the gold dust layer selected, I'm going to go to opacity and turn the opacity down a little bit so that it's not so harsh. And so I've got it down to about 69-70%, and I think I'm going to go with that, and that's what I have here. Now I need some champagne glasses, and this is going to not be very hard. All you really need are three shapes. You need a triangle, so we can make our top of our champagne glass, and of course it's not going to be in that direction. We need to flip it vertical. So I just went up to this right here and flip vertical. So now we have it flipped on its side. That's called transform. So if you want to flip something vertically or horizontally, you would go up to transform with the shape selected and do that. Now I want the stem, so I'm going to draw a stem like that, and so I can see it, what I want is to make this white and that nothing. We just want an outline. Let's find our, okay, there we go. We need an outline and we don't need that. So right now we have our outline or our stroke being white. And right now this is just so I can see it. This is a temporary thing. So there we have something that I can see, and we're not going to move that. Okay, what happened to my triangle? Triangle. I am going to make it a little bit flatter, move it up a little bit, and move it over. And then I'm going to move my stem up like that and make this a little shorter. And then I need a base on this. So I'm going to take the ellipse tool and make sure that, oh, and I do have a stroke. I am going to draw an ellipse to make the base. So there we have the base. So all you really need to draw your champagne glass is a triangle, a rectangle, and an ellipse, and now we'll just line them up. And let's see if putting the snapping in there will help me to There we go. To line these up a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So now, once we get what we want as far as the stem, and I think I'm going to move this over. Get what we want as far as our champagne glass and get them arranged, we are going to add them all up. And that's when we're going to use this add function. So we want to go over and select the triangle, the rectangle, and make sure you press Control. Remember, I'm on Windows, and the ellipse. And now all we have to do is to add them all up, and there is your glass. Now, if we try to change the size, of course, they're all going to change together. So we need to make, sort of sure that we have what we want, or else we're going to have to unadd them. We'll have to go back by going Control Z and back out of it. Now, I need some effects for this boring glass. Well, the first thing I want to do before I do that is I want to make sure that I have the right stroke. Now, I don't want a solid stroke. What I want is this stroke right here. It's called dash line style. So I'm going to select that and make sure that my color, appropriate color, is selected, and it is. Go back over here to stroke, and then I want to turn it up until I get something I like, and I think it might have been about 5 or 6 pixels. I'm set at 5.4 now, so that's fine. I want something that's going to give this kind of effect so it's a little bit showy. But the glass is still a little bit too boring for me, so I want to add some effects to this. So we're going to go down here to Effects, make sure the glass is selected, and hit the Effects button. And then that will open up our Effects menu. And I want to give it a 3D effect. So I'm going to give it a 3D effect. And then for this 3D effect, set the radius to about 30, more or less. So there's our 3D effect for our glass. And I want to give it an outline. So I'm going to go down, up here to the outline and select the outline. And I don't want a black outline, but I want a goldish color of an outline. So I'm going to click on the color box and go down here to the gold. And let me see, there's that one and there's that one. I think I'll stick with that one. That one's okay. Give it a gold outline, and it has to have a radius. Right now the radius is not anything. So I'm going to turn it up to about 6 or so. I don't want to make it, I want to make it strong enough but not too strong. So now we've got a white stroke with a gold outline. Now again, make sure that once you check the box that you're going to use for your effect, make sure that you also select the rectangle. Because what will happen if you just check the box and you don't check the rectangle, the menu for this particular effect isn't going to show up, and then you'll wonder what's going on. So now we have what we need there, and I'm going to, well, maybe I'll turn this up a little bit more. Oh, I don't know. 13 seems to be a bit much. I just want a little bit of a glow on it. I'll keep it at 9. 9 looks good. Okay, I'll close that. Now our glass needs to have something coming out of it. So I'm going to make a bunch of bubbles coming out of it. The first thing I want to do though is to arrange my glass. And I think I'm going to turn it a little bit like that, move it down a little bit like that. And so we have the glass. Now I want to put bubbles in my glass, so to do that I will choose the ellipse tool and make a little circle. So I'll make a little circle, there's one bubble, with about a 2 stroke, so that stroke's a little bit big. So we're going to turn the stroke down on it. Well, I'll just type it in. So I have a 2 stroke width, and then under effects I have my ellipse down here so you can see it, and then under effects, when I open it, I want to have an outer glow on this thing. So I'm going to click the outer glow box, and then remember you have to click the rectangle next to the box so that your menu will show up. And then I want an outer glow with a width of about 15 pixels. Right now I don't have one, but I want my outer glow to be a gold color, and I think I'm going to use the gold about the same gold color I had before. So I'm going to change this outer glow to about 15. Oops. Okay, there's about 15.9, so that's good enough. And so once I get that, then I'm going to close it, and I'm going to click out of it so you can see what our bubble looks like. But I need a couple more of these bubbles. As a matter of fact, I need 6 more of them. So I'm going to go Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I am going to now move my bubbles down into the glass. Come on, don't do that. Stay selected. Okay, so now we can arrange our bubbles to where we have some bubbles in the glass and some bubbles outside of the glass. So once we have our bubbles arranged where we want them, I want another glass on the other side. So now that we have everything the way we want it, all we have to do is to group all this stuff together, and we can just get a duplicate of the group so we don't have to go through this all over again. So I'm going to click and Control down so that I'm going to select all that. All the bubbles and my glass, and then I'm going to make sure I have everything, and I do. And you can tell because it's got a bounding box around it. Then I'm going to right click and I am going to group. So now that I have my glass grouped, all I have to do is do Control J, and I have another glass that appeared right there in my group. And then I will move that glass over here. And then we can arrange our glass the way we want it, like that. And this is the point where you might want to have to move the lettering down, because notice how it's sort of unbalanced with the glasses up here and nothing down there. So I think I'm going to select my text and I'm going to move it down a little bit. Well, I'm going to select my snapping so it'll stay centered. Not that much. So I'm going to move it like that and then see how that looks. Maybe a smidge more. There. Okay. So I moved it down a little bit, and if you wanted to, you could make your glasses smaller, actually, like that, because the whole thing is like one big group. So everything is going to shrink down the way you want it, and that's the beauty of putting things in groups. Okay. Now, I am going to use some of my brushes because I want some stars, and I have some brushes that look like stars. In order to do this, I have to go from the Vector Studio to the Pixel Studio. So I'm going to select the Pixel Studio, and look for my star brushes. So right here I have brushes, but you have to make sure that your brush tool is selected. Okay, so I selected my brush tool. It has already selected the brush that I used last, which is the star tool, but I'm going to show you where I got it. That says acrylics, so we want to click down on the menu, and right here it says Kritza 2. Those are my star brushes. So all of these are stars. The one that I'm using is this one, 48 Star 2. I got this from a website called Brush Easy, and it has a lot of brushes that you can download into Affinity. And this particular one is called 1,000 Stars. So if you like this one, just go out to the website Brush Easy, and then when you get there, in the search, type 1,000 stars and it'll pull it up and you'll see where I got this one. Okay, so with our brush tool selected and the appropriate one selected, I want the appropriate size, so I'm going to have to select or press the bracket key. I'm pressing the right bracket key rather, to get my star the way I want it. I want a specific color, and it's not that one. So I want something that is a little gold. So we'll do that and see how that turns out. If we don't like it, we can always change our mind. So I'll just click down, and there's your star. And the assistant is rasterizing it because we're now, in it's a pixel layer. Okay, so I'll put one star there, maybe one down here, and one down there, and maybe one right there. So we have our stars next to our Happy New Year. Let's check it over to see if we have what we want. Maybe I want this. Oh, I'll leave it like that. Okay, so now we have our Happy New Year, and with our gold, with our glasses, our gold dust in the back, and using my stars. Okay, so there we are. Everything looks balanced. And again, Happy New Year. And remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay informed when my next video drops. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video.